Welcome to Behind the Tools. Here's Tradify CEO and your host, Michael Steckler.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Behind the Tools with me, Michael from Tradify, and absolutely delighted to. We've got someone who's based in Adelaide, and for our international listeners, I think most people would have heard of Adelaide, is out in obviously Australia. So Jarrad, welcome to the show. Great to have you on board.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So Jarrad's from Grove Gas and Plumbing, based out in Adelaide. And maybe to start, Jarrad, do you want to just give us a quick overview of your business and what you mainly focus on?
Yeah, well, my business only started back in June this year. Been plumbing for 10 years. But yeah, made the jump in June. And I'm more of a maintenance plumber, but at the moment, with everyone being at home with COVID, I've been going crazy with the bathroom renos. So yeah, small contracts and maintenance.
Yeah, so you've sort of, my first question was going to be a point you just touched on. You just literally started the business in the last few months. What you've been plumbing for 10 years. What made you decide to go out on your own? And particularly, right now with COVID, you just mentioned everything else that's going on. That was quite a brave move.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go out on my own, but being a plumber, as you know, you've got to do your master's Cert 4 or contractor's license, whatever you want to call it. And that's an extra 2 years of schooling. And yeah, I just should have started it a while back. Always wanted to do it. So I just put the foot down the last 2 years, got my schooling done and made the jump. Everyone said to just do it. Everyone's at home. I don't know. It was the best jump I did.
And you were working for another firm for the sort of previous 10 years before that?
Yeah, too. I worked for a big commercial company locally, the Golden Grove here in Adelaide, and then I went off and worked with one of my tradesmen from there, went out on his own probably 8 years ago, and then I went out with him the last 3 years, so yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Congratulations on making the move. And, you sort of worked for a commercial company before. How did you approach getting new customers? And when you set the business up, did you have a sort of list of people you were going to do work for already, or how did you approach that?
Yeah, well, the part of the reason why I went out my own is because I had clientele. I was doing my own thing on the side sort of thing. And then it just got too hard after work, working for my mate at my last company and then working long days and then, trying to come home and do my own thing. It just got too hard. So yeah, it was good, but going from commercial to back to domestic was a bit of a change, but that's what I needed to do because, you can't jump straight into commercial when you go out on your own. So.
Yeah, no, of course. And I guess sort of tied to that, the sideline stuff, the hustle you had on the side, was that because you had this vision of doing this, or were you just doing that to get some more cash?
Nah, just because I wanted to start, or both. Obviously more cash is good, but yeah, I just trying to build my clientele up, and that was where it all started. It just got to the point where I needed to just take the jump and do it in a day.
Fantastic. Yeah, great. And so how many clients did you have when you sort of then decided to go, switch to full-time away from the firm and do your own thing?
I hadn't. Well, one of the other reasons why I went out my own is because I had a lot of these bathroom renos. The little maintenance jobs after work are fine. But then I started picking up, because everyone's home, started picking up these renos and whatnot. And it's just too hard to promise someone that you'll be there after work to, work another 4 or 5 hours. And it just got too hard. So yeah, I had enough clients doing my maintenance, but then just picking up these renos, it just got too hard. So I had to go out my own.
And so that's, you touched on an interesting point. It's the thing that we've seen in terms of jobs, and that's generally been the feedback during this period in terms of the sort of boom that's happened amongst trades companies to some degree due to people being locked down and either breaking stuff at home or looking around their house and saying, oh, actually, I'm not going on holiday, I'll spend it on, I'm fed up with this bathroom or fed up with this part of the house. Has that been a big trend in Adelaide?
Oh, it's been huge. That's like, I'd love to go back on maintenance. The renos are killing me. They're hurting, but I'm not going to say no to them because it's going to dry up. They're always going to be there, but not, like I said, everyone's at home spending their holiday money. So the bigger jobs are coming in and they do take their toll. I'm going to bed before my daughter some nights, but that's all part of it.
Yeah, I bet. And so it's good though that now you've set the business up. It's probably a better problem to have than the opposite that could have been the case. And how are those people finding you? How are you getting the sort of that reno work? How's that coming through?
Well, I started off with the first couple of renos with people that are already knew, and then word of mouth. That's been the best thing. So I've done some ones, and then they've seen that, and then I started putting a few on Instagram, Facebook, and then I picked up a few more, and then it's just sort of rolled on from there. And then I ended up picking up some work through two tilers who've got their builder's license. They run the job, so it's good. I come in, and that's charge up renos. They're the better ones, because I'm working for a tiler and I'm getting in there, and I'm not going out to quote it. They're just calling me in and saying, "Hey, look, got this job. Come and do it."
Yeah. And you sort of come across those tilers just working around the area? Is that how you got to know them?
Yeah. One of them was from around the area. He had an older plumber who didn't really want to do the harder stuff anymore, which is fine. And then I came in and been doing a few for him. And then one of the other tilers I've just started work for is one of my other mates. He has a plumbing company as well, and he wanted to he's busy. He's got a few blokes. He just wanted to sort of stick to the maintenance. So he recommended me to the tiler, and I did one job, and I've done another two for him. So yeah, it's just rolled on.
Yeah, great. That's fantastic. And, in terms of employees, there's 3 of you, is that right?
No, I seen that on the form there. It's just me. But we do subby too. There's a few plumbing mates that, if there's a job too big,
you bring in other people.
Hey, look, yeah, just a few mates that we sort of help out. I've done a few jobs for my old boss. Yeah, just sort of all help each other. It's just, I'd love to put someone on in the new year, maybe a young junior, but I'll see when that comes to the time, I guess.
And when you reached that point where you decided, during COVID and everything that was going on, that it was a good time to go out on your own, how did you approach sort of thinking about setting the business up? And did you have a mentor or someone else in the business that you sort of turned to ask for advice on that, or did you just go out there and just get it done?
There was a few. Like my wife also has her own business. She's got a salon, and then my in-laws have got a pretty big flooring company here in Golden Grove as well. And then even my old boss, I just sort of seen how he ran his business, and I was just like, this is definitely what I want to do. It's just, and I don't know, when do you keep holding off? Like, got another baby due any day now. Like, my wife's heavily pregnant. It's just, do I wait? And then I probably wouldn't have done it. I just had to do it.
Yeah, I think it's a really brave decision. I think, I think you're right. I think I've heard that from a few people actually, which they sort of and err for a while. We had one guest, I think he went for a bushwalk. I think he talked about he went for this bushwalk with a mate who said, "Well, you're going to do it, or you're not going to do it." And he came out at the end of the walk and said, "Right, I'll do it." And it's never regretted that decision. So yeah, it's a good point. And has it been everything you thought it would be, apart from the hours?
It's been good, but it just doesn't stop. There's no coming home and switching off. Like coming in here, doing invoices, got to put the daughter to bed and then come in here and sit in here for a few hours. So, but that's all part of it.
And do you have a vision sort of for the business over the next, is there a period of time where you sort of have a feeling about when you would hire? I guess another way of asking that question is there a monetary amount in terms of your sort of revenue that you're going to make from customers where you say, right, I'm going to go and hire more people, whether that might be admin support or other parts of the business that you need support on?
Yeah, look, my goal is to eventually bring my wife over, but I don't want to take her away from her business. I want to be able to bring her over when my business can afford to bring her over. And then also, if these renos keep going, if I'm still getting the work from these tilers, someone's going to need to do that. But then I also want someone on doing the maintenance, because the maintenance is the good stuff. That's the work I really love, but I'd like to get back on maintenance and maybe have someone doing the renos because they're killing me.
And on that, what's the plan from I saw you mentioned how you sort of had pictures on Instagram which look great, and I think that does probably help attract work. Do you have more work that you can cope with, so you're not really focused on trying to build growth or generate more business?
Well, at the moment, it's good where it's at with me. Hey, I'd love more work. I'd love a contract, but time will come. These things happen. So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, word of mouth, new clients, maintenance, renos. Yeah, just keep going, doing what I'm doing.
And has there been any challenges because of COVID, aside from the sort of boom in kind of renovation work? Has there been anything else that's affected your business that you weren't expecting?
No, in Adelaide, it's been all right. The only one sort of little setback was probably a couple of months ago, we had that lockdown.
Yeah.
And my wife actually went to one of the hotspots. So we had to, when we went into lockdown, I was hoping, oh, yes, this is going to be a good chance I'll do call outs. And then we got a message to say that my wife QR coded into one of the hotspots. So we had to quarantine for 2 weeks. So I was stuck at home for 2 weeks with no money coming in and all these bills coming out. In the first couple of months into my business, I was sort of stressing out. But
how did you deal with that? I mean, the cash flow side of it, I think, is probably the most stressful part of setting up your own business. Seeing those bills come in. You need to have a level of work that come, to generate the income, but also then getting paid on time is, sometimes an issue. How have you dealt with that, and how did you deal with that sort of that 2 week stress?
Oh yeah, just stressed. It was pretty hard because, like I said, my wife has her own business too, so we didn't have any money coming in on her side. So it was all these bills coming out, but I just went hard after that. As soon as we were allowed out, I had a reno booked in. I was there straight away. So, what do you do?
Yeah,
I got told to stay home.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. It's good to see that you're coming out of that, and the rest of Australia seems to be moving in the same direction, which is good to see. There's no issue with supplies for you. There hasn't been any issue in terms of has prices gone up or anything like that.
Oh yeah, everything's going up. But like I mainly use Reese Plumbing. They're pretty good. They normally let you know. They normally give you a bit of a time when prices are going to increase. So if you're having a job or you've quoted something to maybe buy the material before that price increase comes in. So yeah, there's been a few, but
yeah, and
that's all part of it, I guess.
It's it's one thing I think a lot of new trades companies especially struggle with is sort of hourly rate, setting the right price, thinking about pricing on suppliers, because it seems to be, it's different countries, it's more extreme, it's fluctuating on a daily basis in some places for certain suppliers. How did you approach sort of pricing and thinking about how you charged out when you started the business?
I spoke to my previous boss. I spoke to him on what I think I should charge out on certain things. I've spoken to another mate of mine who has the plumbing business as well. And then also the best thing is with Reese Plumbing is they've got an app called Max. So it's just so easy. I can just jump on there and see what everything costs, retail and my price. So, if it's not something I've got locked into Tradify as a fixed price, I can get a price straight away on Max app.
Yeah, cool. And is there anything you've learned that you would sort of, if there's someone listening or watching to this that is about to embark on the same journey, any advice you would give that person? Anything you did that you think I wouldn't do that way again, or something that you did that you think, so that was a really great thing and I'll do it again?
No, definitely give it a crack. The best thing is just try and be organized. Like with, I think Tradify has really helped me out. I wouldn't be able to do this out of a diary. I was using ServiceMate beforehand at my previous company, which is very similar to Tradify, but I'm a Samsung user. So, I put it out on Facebook and did a bit of research, and I had a few mates hit me up and say, look, get on Tradify. It's very similar and you can use it with a Samsung phone. So yeah, definitely scheduling, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, just make sure make sure you're organized. That's the way to go.
It seems, actually, I spoke to someone a couple of weeks ago and they said the same thing, which is that whole idea of just making sure that you have all of that stuff in place from the get-go, whether it's the job management software, accounting, but all those things in place. I think it is great advice, because it's actually easier to start with nothing with those products than it is to try and bring it into a more established business. I mean, you can do both, but I think it's if you're starting from afresh, it's good to have all those things in place so you have a vision of how to run them. And to your point, you don't want to be coming home every night, spending hours doing all that stuff if it's pen and paper, which will definitely slow you down.
Yeah, and that's what I love about Tradify is that I've spent a little bit of time going through and saving like templates and priceless items, as you should. So when I'm on the job, I can do an invoice there and then. And then the good thing about Stripe is you can get paid right there and then. You don't have to worry about it. As long as, if you've done all your line items and everything saved, you can have a nice written out invoice while you're packing up, and then you can get payment right there and then it's nothing you need to worry about, and it reconciles for you through Stripe.
Yeah.
And it's just,
it's
good. It's so good.
Well, that's great, and I appreciate you using our products. And but it's I think you touched on a really good point about payment. I mean, that is a thing I think that lots of even well-established companies could learn from, which is just making it frictionless for customers so you get paid quicker, because that, I think, is often the thing that kills small businesses, is just cash flow. Buying products in, doing the work, that gap between completing the work, you've already paid for supplies, and then getting the customer to pay you. And some customers are great, some, not always intentionally, but just out of slowness or whatever else, don't pay on time. And that can sort of balloon out of control fairly quickly. And then when you were, I noticed that when you were contracting before, you did some interesting work. You did a lot of prison work. Do you want to talk to us about that? Any interesting stories from that experience? I spoke to someone in the UK who'd done a similar thing, and he had some pretty funny stories around doing that type of work.
Yeah, well, at my first company, we did all the prisons around Adelaide, and yeah, it's always hard because you got to carry your toolbox around. It's very hard to get your vehicle in there. They got to check over things, but that's all part of it. But yeah, there was a pretty funny story once that he was my old boss when he was my tradesman there. One of the whole divisions was blocked up. They feed their blankets down the toilets to block the prison up, so they can get out or get yard time or whatever. And we were there trying to unblock it, and I just remember we were pulling this bed sheet out with our multi grips from the bottom of the stack, and then it finally let go, and we both jumped out the way. But he jumped that way, and he had the multi grips with the towers, and then so that pulled that way, and then all the waste went out, and it went all over me, and I was out in the courtyard. And I had all these prison guards just squirting me off with the hose. It was all just stuck in my leg hair. And then, I had to go home, clean up, have a shower, and then had to come back into work.
Oh no! Oh, that's terrible.
It was no good.
And they sort of hosed you off? Were they amused by that, or?
Everyone was laughing at me. Even the prisoners were laughing at me. So, what do you do?
Well, what you can do, you got to grin and put a big smile on your face, and go home and clean up. Yeah. Oh,
and then my tradesman at the time, he was just on the floor laughing, just like, and he didn't get one bit on him, and he always brings it up.
Well, I'd say I would imagine he would. I thought when you started that story, I thought you were going to say that he got covered and you sort of got out of the way, but unfortunately, you were the recipient of the spray. And was there like additional security measures when you were doing work in prisons? There's other things you had to do to go in there?
Oh, there's plenty. Yeah, you got to like do an eye scan, and then you got to do a body scan, and then you got to go through and you got to check all your tools in, and then you got to. I was level 2, so what that meant is I could walk around without a guard, and just make sure my toolbox is locked. Walk around the prison, and then as soon as I came back out again, same thing. You got to go back through the body scan, eye scan, and check all your tools out, make sure they're all there. And if they're not there, well, prison goes into lockdown pretty much. Until you find your tools. Oh, that never happened with me. Like,
never happened. I was going to say you'd be. I could see you being very unpopular very quickly because you left a spanner behind somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right.
And what made you? Another question, sort of going back even further. What made you decide you wanted to be a plumber? What was the thing that sort of got you into the trade?
Well, I actually started out when I finished school. When I was at school, I was doing my VOC, and I was doing 1 or 2 days a week as a carpenter. I wanted to be a chippy because I just love tools. I just love hands-on. I just liked all their tools. And because I'm a country boy, and then moved up to Adelaide. A lot of my mates moved up to town for uni, and I moved up here and couldn't get a transfer as a carpenter because I just started. And then, yeah, plumbing gig rolled around, and that was always my second choice. But yeah, I love it. Best trade.
Yeah, so it's funny you said about carpentry, because a lot of people seem to pick being a chippy as their second preferred trade, because I think people, if you get into the trades, generally have an appetite for enjoying building stuff. I think it's just natural, and so that seems to be the case. So is that something you would fall back on? Do you still do any of that?
Yeah, I try to. I always try and do what I can. But yeah, I didn't do it long enough to know what I'm doing, pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And has the industry changed in sort of in the last 10 years, and looking forward for the next few years with everything that's happening around sort of, less so, I would imagine, in Australia than colder countries, but is it things changing for you? Are there things that you're leaning into from a sort of green energy perspective or anything like that from that's changing at all that you see, or is it still pretty much the same as it was 10 years ago?
Yeah, probably. There is other things out there like solar and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, for the work I've been doing over the last 10 years has been pretty consistent, been the same. So.
And when you do get to that kind of hiring that first employee, who do you think it would be first? Would you consider an apprentice, or is it more likely to be?
I was having this conversation not long ago with a few of my mates. My mate has a sparky business, and my other mate has the plumbing businesses. Yeah, I don't know. They said a tradesman to start off with, and then because they can go off and do the maintenance if I'm doing the renos, or vice versa. And then maybe if you get a young guy in, and they can be jump between us both. So yeah, that's the goal. See how we're going in the new year. But yeah, if these renos keep going the way they are, I can't do it by myself. So it's gonna get to the point where I need to make that decision if it's a young whip or a tradie.
Yeah, and do you think it'll be hard to find someone in that where you are now in terms of sort of talent that's available?
Probably if you asked me before COVID, it was crazy. Everyone was looking for a job. Everyone wanted to move around. Everyone wants to do something different. But at the moment now, a few mates looking for tradies. It's too hard. Either they're all locked in, they're probably too scared to move. I don't know. But getting an apprentice at the moment, it's pretty easy because everyone's, coming out of school. That's the easy way to get someone. But tradies are pretty hard at the moment.
Yeah, it does seem to be the case. The case the world over is, finding a good trades company that's not busy is one thing, but actually for those trades companies, finding, qualified, experienced people that can do the work is definitely harder. And I think that's where some people start to go down that apprentice route. But of course, that requires you couldn't have them go off and just do the maintenance on their own. And that's part of the challenge for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah. So how do you approach hiring? How would you go about that? Is that a word of mouth thing, or would you advertise? What are you finding that most people are doing to try and address that challenge?
There's a few ways they do it. There's ads like on Seek and whatnot on your Facebook page, even down at the supplier. Talking to your race manager, see if they know, hey, look, is anyone looking, or things like that. And then interview stage, I guess, and then go from there.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's definitely not easy. And are you, when you think about, your business in the future and where you are going to grow it, how do you think you'll approach that outside of word of mouth? Are you going to start to lean more heavily into sort of what you're doing on Facebook and Instagram, or have you tried ads? Does that work for you?
I want to. That's what I'm going to try and get my wife to start helping me doing, is getting onto the Instagram and the Facebook a little bit better, because I'm not that good at it. So I need to start advertising a little bit more, and start promoting through that. But I haven't done any ads or whatnot.
And what's been the biggest challenge? Has it really been about the time that you have to do everything, just you being on your own? Is that the biggest challenge so far, or are there other things that have been different to what you expected?
The biggest challenge is going into a job and not having that help that you used to have. Like, my last company, I had two apprentices that I'd jump between. They would help me out. You go to a bathroom reno and you've got to jackhammer that whole floor up. And last time it was the both of you going full crazy at it, and now it's you, and you get to the end of the jackhammering and you're like, whoa, now I can't be bothered doing the plumbing.
Yeah, over a break. Yeah. That's and did you underestimate that, do you think?
Yeah. I messaged my old boss and I was like, oh, you appreciate good help when you've got it. And he's like, yeah, he said to me, you'll have an apprentice soon. And so that was a little while back now, but yeah, I'll just see how we go.
Yeah, and the customers that you've got, have they pretty much all been good experiences for you from a sort of the type of customer that you've ended up working for?
Yeah, well, I'm sure I'll get some harder clients when I get on the maintenance and I get back to doing my maintenance. But at the moment, like with the renos, it's half the renos I've been doing, it's people I know, and then through the tiler, I'm dealing with the tiler. So I'm not really dealing with the
tiler. That's yeah.
But yeah, I've experienced those people before, and I know it's coming. So just see how we go.
Yeah, just stick with it. Fantastic. That's great. And any other, anyone that's sort of, one of the things we talk about a lot is trying to attract more young people into the trades, and which I think helps with some of the problems you're describing now, right? And I think that's what's happening to some degree, is there's been a sort of lagging indicator of young people getting into the trades versus prior years, as in there's less of them. Anything you think that could be done to address that? Do is that a thing that you think can be fixed? Do you see that in Adelaide as well, same as everywhere else?
With young blokes getting into the trade.
Yeah, just young people in general deciding to,
Yeah, well, the hardest thing is these days is, getting into the trade is the best thing, but a lot of the young kids get attracted to these other jobs that are well paying from the start, like, the lollipop guys. So they're getting awesome money, and the kids are going there. And
the road crossing.
Oh yeah, they're getting paid.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, which is good, but it's a lot of kids are coming out of school and they want that money straight away, which is, got to suck eggs and come do your apprenticeship.
Yeah. And I guess I'm presuming that sort of job wouldn't have the same long-term potential that being a building your own trades company would have.
No. And that's the thing is with plumbing, I'm sure the other trades are the same. With plumbing, it's just there's so much to learn. Like I'm still learning. And especially if you get into the gas fitting side of things, and renos, large construction, maintenance, there's just so much to learn.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot to learn over a long period of time, and you can build a really great business. I think it's sometimes just telling that story more effectively to young school leavers that they haven't decided what they want to do, then actually learning a trade is a really has long-term a lot of potential, and there's great examples of that. Cool. This has been great. Any other advice before I ask you our sort of final few questions? Any other advice you'd give anyone that's listening?
If you're going out on your own or you're thinking about it, just give it a crack. It's definitely worth it.
Yeah, cool. And considering what you've said about how hard you're working, that's actually really positive that you still feel really good about it. So that's really, really great to hear. So we always ask, I think I know your first answer potentially. We always ask everyone sort of a number of questions at the end. The first one is, if you were going to do another trade, what would it be? I'm guessing you're going to say carpenter, but you could surprise me.
Nah, spot on. Yeah, it'd always be a chippy and plumbing.
Yeah, cool, great. And then the sort of second question, do you have a preferred tool brand of choice or a tool of choice?
It'd be Milwaukee and Rigid. Just because I love tools and they've got that many of them.
Yeah, great. Okay, fantastic. And the other one is, when you're on site and you're not jackhammering that floor, or when you are actually probably after you've been jackhammering that floor, what would be your sort of go-to lunch?
If I'm on site, probably leftovers. Leftovers are good, but if I'm going to go off, probably Subway. I love a good Subway.
Oh yeah, you're the second Subway person. Yeah. And what would you have? What's your favorite?
Oh,
Subway?
That's why I love Subway, because it's just you
different
go in
every
there,
time.
That many to choose. Yeah, different every time.
Oh, cool. And then things are opening up there now, which is good. And obviously Adelaide's been slightly more insulated than other parts like New South Wales and Victoria, which is pretty fortunate. What would be, if you had a choice of sporting event or a live music event that you could get to next, what would you pick?
Well, I go for Hawthorn and their Victorian football team, so I wouldn't mind going to a footy game because the last 2 years I've watched no footy. I haven't been. It's only on TV, but
Yeah.
I'd love to go to a footy game.
Yeah, cool. Fantastic. And then anyone that you come across that you think we should speak to next?
Yeah, definitely. I think Justin from LJ Refrigeration and Air Conditioning. He's the one that actually pushed me to go with Tradify. When I put the ad up on Facebook, he's my brother's friend. He kept sending it. I think he's been with you guys for a long time now. And yeah, he pushed me towards you guys and, kept talking through a Facebook Messenger. So definitely get him on the show.
Fantastic. Great. Cool. Jarrad, well, look, thank you. This was a really, really great conversation. I think it'd be really useful for lots of people because you're still really early on this, right? I mean, you've been doing this since when? You said June. So where are we now? June, July?
Yeah, June.
I mean, you're approaching that 6-month mark. And still very positive, which is especially with the start that you had with the lockdown and everything else. So that's really, really good to see. And I think really inspiring for other people that might be thinking who are working for someone else, it's time for them to go out and build their own business. So, and I hope, best of luck in the future. Sounds like you've got more work than you can cope with, which is good. And so I hope you keep building the business and best of luck with the number 2 as well. That's going to be, that's going to make the jackhammering seem like incredibly light work.
Yeah, hopefully.
You have those 2 little ones running around. I speak from experience, but I hope that all goes well and really appreciate you speaking to us today. It's been a really great conversation.
Thank you.
Hey, and thanks everyone. So as always, thanks Jarrad. And as always, if you want to rate, review, give us feedback, let us know what you'd like to see on the podcast. We would really appreciate it. Until next time, cheers.
And that brings us to the end of this episode. Behind the Tools is brought to you by Tradify, job management software for your trade business. If you enjoyed the podcast, let us know by leaving a review and be sure to tell your mates about it. Email behindthetools@tradifyhq.com if you or someone you know would be keen to join the show as a guest.